Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to parallel session 3 of the 7th International Language and Language Teaching Conference in this Zoom meeting. My name is Sarah as the moderator. I'm a 5th semester student of English Language Education Study Program in Sanata Dharma University, and I will be in charge of this parallel session. So before we start this parallel session, let me read your rules first. First, each presentation will last for 15 minutes and additional time 5 minutes if needed, since we have less presentations than other rooms. Two presentations will be delivered in a row. 3, we will have Q&A session after the presentations have finished. And 4, other rules can be found in the program book. So for detailed information, you may check in the program book. So there are 2 presentations in this room by Ms. Lanoke Intan Paradita, Mr. Thomas Mukti, Ms. Yusefa Riani Iswandari, and Ms. Marie-Louise Catherine Widyananda. So let's start with the first presentation entitled Set a Date with Extensive Reading Podcast as a Tool for Teachers' Learning Resources, and it will be delivered by Ms. Lanoke, Mr. Thomas, and Ms. Yosefa from Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta University and Sanata Dharma University. So you will have 15 minutes to deliver the presentation and 5 minutes additional if needed, and the time is yours.
Is my voice clear?
Yes, Ibu.
Yes, Miss.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mbak Sarah. Good morning, Bapak Ibu. Very happy to see you virtually today. It's been a pleasure for the 3 of us to be here to share what we have done for this past few months. And today we would like to share our experience and what the audience has taken from the podcast, Saturday with Podcast, Extensive Reading Podcast, as a tool for teachers' learning resources. My name is Lanoke Intan Paradita. I am from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, and I am with my 2 beloved friends.
My name is Thomas Wahyu Mukti.
And my name is Yusefa Riani Iswandari from Universitas Sanata Dharma.
In our presentation today, we will talk about the background, why we do this, the study objectives, podcast and Saturday with, discussion, and the last will be conclusion and implication.
Okay, I will start with this one. We all know, as teachers and also as students, that ICTs infiltrate classroom around the world at exceedingly rapid pace. So it is no longer quick, but very, very quick. And we all, as educators, face growing challenges as we teach a very wired, previously and now more and more wireless generation of students using technology that is evolving every day. Most of the audience here are my students, so you can reflect on this one as well. And we all know that today's generation is surrounded by digital media, both social media and any other things. And it has always been part of their lives. From when they wake up until they want to sleep, they always covered with the social media and digital media. And because of this access, and they naturally gravitate to it. And due to this situation, it is becoming easier for us, teachers and also students, to get connected with a global reach, especially in this condition, in this situation, in this pandemic era. Next, Pulga. And due to these conditions, we all know that all of this condition lead us to the use of online resources in the class. Since we know that it is very level, and these situations or the phenomena are from International Education Advisory Board, Lumen, the journal, and also RMIT University Studies. Well, talking about internet resources, some studies show that actually internet resources are very useful for students and also for teachers. Nicolic's studies in 2015 showed that a substantial number of students use the internet resources to aid their learning. It can also increase their productivity. And for teachers, it can improve their teaching. And the availability of such studied resources leads to an improved student experience. And the good thing is student use of the internet has improved students' academic self-confidence, academic self-reliance, and student lecturer connectedness. Academic self-reliance, of course, we all know that we need to be independent in finding resources. And about student lecturer connectedness, for those teachers and also students, you can reflect it by your own condition or your own situation. Maybe it is quite different from one student to another, and also as well as one teacher to another. And based on Time Magazine, the Washington Post interviews, teachers in this situation, in this pandemic era, actually know their limit. They need to use the internet. And based on the interviews as well, the teachers know that they can rely on the internet sources. And related to the online resources, we can differentiate those online resources into like the pages. For example, you find some news, information from Wikipedia and other things. It can be also infographics, YouTube videos, web-based application like quizzes, Quizlet, and something else. And the last one is podcast. I believe some of you may not think about this one, but I need to emphasize that all of the online resources are mainly used to help students. How about us, teachers? Do we really use them to help us in this situation? This presentation is intended to fill the gap. And we aim to explore teachers' experiences of using Saturday with podcasts as online learning resources in two major parts. The first one is related to teachers' autonomous learning, and the second one is related to the teachers' professional development. How is it? Bu Uka and also Bu Yusefa will explain it to you.
Thank you, Mas Thomas. So as Mas Thomas mentioned before, that podcast can be used for not only students' autonomous learning, but also for teachers. But before we talk about that, I would like to share you what podcast is. So podcast, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary and Oxford Dictionary, it is a program, usually it is for music or talk, and it is made available in digital format for automatic download over internet, and it can be played on the computer or any device that you carry with you. So it is very easy to access the podcast. And usually podcast is in series and automatically available for the subscribers. In podcast, we can find so many interesting and updated information. Either it is for fun or for other serious things. It is for fun, such as daily life talks, comedy, short story reading, and so on. But then we can also find serious talks in different fields, such as education, economics, and psychology. Therefore, we think that podcast is a potential to support autonomous learning, as mentioned by Yunus and Bahtiar. What about for language learning? As mentioned before, podcasts can be useful for both students and for teachers. For students, usually it can be the source of authentic language. It can motivate them to learn English or other language if they access the podcast in other languages. And mostly it is used for listening practice. For teachers, it can be used as a help for their teaching materials, to add their teaching materials, and it can be the sources for teachers' own self-development. There is one podcast called Saturday with Podcast. This podcast is a podcast which mainly discusses about extensive reading as theories and practices, and also literacy in general. Saturday with Podcast is hosted by the three of us, me, Bu Yusefa, and Mas Thomas. And we invite various guests. They are ER experts, practitioners, teachers, parents, students, and also children. And we aim the English teachers in Indonesia as our audience. We share our podcast through two main platforms. The first one is Spotify, where we can listen only the audio. The second one is YouTube, because there are also some activities that we do, so that we want to share how we do the activities when we have talk, especially with children and with parents. Here are how it looked like in in Spotify and in YouTube. Next will be discussed by Bu Yusefa.
Okay, thank you, Bulanoka. As Bulanoka has mentioned before, the aim of Saturday with Podcast is to provide free open access contents related to extensive reading to English teachers, mainly in Indonesian setting. So today we focus on exploring teachers' experiences of using Saturday with Podcast as online learning resources into major parts. The next slide. Okay, so the first one is Saturday with and teacher autonomous learning. So based on our conversations with Saturday with audience, or we normally call them Sobat Malmin, because this Saturday with podcast normally is on every Saturday night, every Saturday evening, right, Bu Uke? This is to accompany Bu Uke spending her Saturday night, actually. Yeah. So we summarize how the teachers or the audience learn autonomously using Saturday with. So for Saturday with and teacher autonomous learning, there are 4 findings. So the first one is the teachers use Saturday with podcast to enhance their knowledge on the aspects of extensive reading. So for example, one teacher mentioned about Saturday with Dr. Willy Renandia, that is episode 4, and the topic was extensive reading and empathy. So the teacher mentioned, I learned from that episode that reading stories extensively can increase students' empathy. So extensive reading is not only for language development, but it also can be used to increase students' empathy. And the second one, the teachers listen to Saturday with podcast to learn how to establish extensive reading program. So one audience mentioned, and this is related to Saturday with Hugo from Mexico, from episode 11, and the topic was about setting up extensive reading program. So the audience mentioned Hugo's information on how to set up extensive reading program is really useful, and his situation is similar to the audience. So I think it is also possible to start extensive reading program in my school too. Next, Bu Uke. The third one, the teachers listen to Saturday with podcast to ensure their understanding and or prior knowledge. So before, actually that teacher thinks that she doesn't have to always use graded readers for extensive reading, but she heard from her friend that actually we have to use graded readers when we implement extensive reading. So the teacher got confirmation that she doesn't have to always use graded readers by listening to the podcast. And the fourth one, the teachers become more aware and convinced that it is not difficult to develop reading habit. So she mentions that listening to Saturday with guest speakers and their inspiring stories make me become aware and convinced that cultivating reading habit is not difficult. So Saturday with podcast help teachers or these teachers to be able to and responsible for their self-managed and self-monitored learning, as well as all of the decisions related to their learning. And the second one is related to how Saturday with help teachers improve their professional development. So professional development basically refers to any activities to help develop a teacher's skills, knowledge, expertise, and other characteristics that results in changes in the teacher practices, but also at the same time, improvements in student learning outcomes. And there are also 4 findings related to teacher professional development here. So the first one, the guest speakers who speak English help the teachers improve their speaking skills. So one audience here stated that I listened to Saturday with to improve my speaking skills. I learned how to speak English well. Dr. Willy Renandia, Professor Richard Day, Cory Kobe, they all speak well with clear pronunciation. So by listening to their episodes, this teacher thinks that he improves his speaking skills. And the second one, the guest speakers who speak English help the teachers improve their listening skills. So listening to the guest speakers who speak English helps me improve my listening skill. And in addition, this teacher actually also uses some of the episodes as authentic materials for his listening class in one of the universities. And the third one, the contents of Saturday with podcast can increase the teacher creativity. So after listening to the topic and about excessive reading and students' empathy, I invited my students to read some stories, including Egghead by Michael Lacy Freeman, because I heard that this book is really good to facilitate the discussion on empathy. Therefore, I introduced empathy to my nursing students through stories. So before, he only focuses on giving lecture and scientific articles to help the students to build their empathy. And the fourth, Saturday with podcast also provides fun and interesting activities for the teacher's own teaching. So one audience here mentions there are a lot of fun and interesting activities that I can adopt and or adapt for my reading class as shared in episodes 8 and 11. And my students like them so far. So the teacher said that his teaching learning activities become more interesting and fun for the students.
So to conclude our discussion, we all know that Saturday with can be a free, authentic, extensive reading online resource for teachers because we focus on extensive reading. And Saturday with can also help English teachers develop their knowledge and understanding on aspects of extensive reading autonomously, especially when they want to learn it by themselves, not being forced to watch or to listen the Saturday with podcast. And Saturday with can help enhancing teachers' professional development. They can learn how to conduct something, especially related to excessive reading in their classes. So it will help them to develop their professionalism. And podcasts can be free open access educational resources as long as you really check it. I mean, you check the content, whether it is suitable for my students or not. Even for those the students, you can also check it whether the podcast is suitable for your target or your goals or not. And for the implication, future research can further explore the benefits of educational podcasts for teachers teaching practices. You can learn more or you can find more related to this one. And these are the references that we use. And thank you. If you are interested with our podcast and also video, please go to bit.ly Saturday with YT and Saturday with Spotify. Thank you so much.
Thank you for Mr. Thomas, Ms. Lanoke, and Ms. Yusefa for the inspiring presentation. Personally, I often listen to the podcast. It is very engaging podcast, and I personally think that I can feel the atmosphere in the podcast since Mr. Thomas, Miss Lanoke, and Miss Yusefa really hyping up the atmosphere when doing the podcast. So I can feel their love with books and readings. So please let's give them virtual applause to them. And then, so let's move to the second presentation entitled Students' Excuses in Doing Plagiarism in English Writing Assignment. It will be delivered by Miss Mary Louise Catherine Widyananda from BPK Penabur, Jakarta. So for Miss Mary, you will also have 15 minutes and additional time 5 minutes to deliver the presentation, and the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sarah. Okay. Is my voice clear?
Yes, Anda.
Yes, clear. Thank you. Okay. So good morning, all the participants. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Mary Louise Catherine Widyananda from BPK Penabur, Jakarta. Here, I'm going to share my research about students' excuses in doing plagiarism in English writing assignment. Actually, this is not a new topic. We all know that this has been a concern, like all the teacher here, since there are so many sources that students can get from the internet, and then they just do not know how to sort or how to choose the things that are going to be in the writing. And so in this presentation, I will share about my background of this research, and then the objectives, the results, and then the conclusions. Okay, so this research is begin in the first semester of their their time to be in the senior high school. That was my first year of teaching. So I introduced them to write an essay. I gave them information about how to write a simple argumentative essay. And then at that time, I didn't have so much expectation on their writing, since I know that it is maybe it is their first time to write a kind of argumentative essay on what's so called an essay. And then in their first essay, in their first semester of senior high school, I found that there are some plagiarism detected, that is verbatim or word for word quotation, and then collusion. So some of the students have a kind of had a kind of collaboration each other, and they have totally the same topic, the same writing, but they change the dictions of some words. And then when I found that kind of plagiarism, I asked them to revise their work. And then it comes to the next semester. We have home learning due to the pandemic from March, and up until right now, we still have this home learning. And then at that time, since it is the first experience to have home learning, I give the students explanation about materials and assignments through videos without direct interactions. it is quite different from now, because now we always have virtual interactions using Zoom every week. However, in the previous semester, I didn't give them such kind of direct interaction, so there are only videos, and asynchronous videos, and I didn't give them further explanation about the uh, assignment. So I think that is the one of the reflection that I did, and then I found that there are some plagiarism detected again in their writing assignment. And then in this research, I tried to discover the categories of plagiarism or the forms of plagiarism done by the students in English writing assignment, and to discover their excuses in doing plagiarism in English writing assignment. So I employed a case study by categorizing the students' writing using rubrics, and then giving the students questionnaire about their understanding towards plagiarism. First, I want to refresh our what is it? Our knowledge about plagiarism. According to University of Oxford, plagiarism is ideas or words of another as one's own, and to use another's production without crediting the source. Students' English assignment writing. The first one is verbatim or word-for-word quotation without clear acknowledgement, cutting and pasting from the internet without clear acknowledgement, paraphrasing without referencing to the writer, collusion or collaboration between the students, failure to acknowledge assistance, and uh, auto-plagiarism or resubmitting the assignment. And the last one, use of material written by professional agencies or other persons, or as known as ghostwriters. These plagiarism forms are derived from University of Oxford. And then here are the forms of plagiarism that I found in students' writing. I found 36% of the students doing verbatim or word-for-word quotation plagiarism. 48% of the students were doing cutting and pasting from the internet. 12% are doing paraphrasing without referencing, and 4% failed to acknowledge the assistance from the teacher. So this result I get from the tools, online tools in the internet. Like plagiarism detector or else, because I don't have Turnitin account, so I use those free online tools to have to get this result. And I found no collusion here because um, I asked them to not have a collaboration with each other. So yeah, these are the forms of plagiarism that I found in students' writing assignments. Okay, so after I have that, after I have that research, and I also gave the students the questionnaire about their understanding toward plagiarism. I gave them these two definitions of plagiarism from University of Oxford and University of New South Wales. I gave them the Indonesian questionnaire to make them more understand about the statements that I give. And then this, actually we can see here that most of the students, almost all of the students, actually know about the concept of plagiarism. They know that it is not a good thing to do plagiarism, since it is a kind of theft. Like here, plagiarism is intellectual theft. And then I also provide another 15 questions, but I only took some significant data from the questionnaire. I asked them about how, why they do the plagiarism. And the first one is, I did plagiarism in English writing assignment because I felt unconfident in expressing my ideas. And I think it is around 40% of the students are feeling unconfident. We're feeling unconfident in expressing their original idea. And another one is, I did plagiarism in English writing assignment because I often write, I seldom write or do assignments that need my original ideas. So around 60% of the students feel this way. They don't, they do not always writing something in English, so it is quite hard for them to express their original ideas. And then I did plagiarism in English writing assignment because I didn't know how to quote or sort the reading sources. So around 18% of the students feel that they do not know how to paraphrase or how to give citation for how to reference their work. And then I did plagiarism in English writing assignment because writing in English is a difficult thing for me to do. This one, I have around 23% of the students who feel this way. I understand because English is not their native language. And so they found it difficult to write the English assignment. And then I did plagiarism in English writing assignment because I had the same idea with the writers of the reading sources I wanted to quote. So they think that they have the similar idea. Around 50% of the students are having the same idea with the writers, and then they just take those sentences and make it as their own. They think that they thought that they have the same idea with the writer, so that's okay to have the same sentences with the writers. And then the last one, I did plagiarism in English writing assignment because the time to do the assignment was not enough. So around 25% of the students feel that they don't have a good time management. So, oh yeah, I forgot to say that this the participant of this research is the 10th grader. That used to be the 10th grader, but now they are in the 11th grader. So yeah, I still work on that these things, plagiarism things, in their writing assignments. So for the conclusion, first, the students were aware about the definition of the plagiarism, but the researcher still found some forms of plagiarism done by them. And then the students had several excuses to do plagiarism, although they knew that they mustn't do it. And actually, this research is a preliminary study of classroom action research that will be conducted later in the learning process. So this is only the beginning of the research. That's all from my research. I hope you can give me more suggestions to have the treatments for classroom action research that will be conducted later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Miss Marie for the inspiring presentation. And what I learned from yesterday's session, plagiarism is indeed a major problem when relating to writing activity. So I hope from Miss Marie's presentation, we can learn from the students' perspectives when doing plagiarism and the reasons of it. So thank you for Miss Marie. Let's give her applause virtually. And then now it's time for question and answer session. For the first round, I will invite 3 questions. All participants can participate in asking question by writing down in the chat box, and don't forget to mention your name, affiliation, and to whom you address the question. All right, so for the first question, it comes from Miss Mega Wulandari from Santarma University. So she wants to ask for the podcast team, Miss Yusefa, Miss Lanuke, and Mr. Thomas, about how do the team keep content of the podcast relevant with what teacher need, especially the young teacher ones, and how do you convince them to apply the knowledge delivered in the podcast? And then let me check first another question maybe. And for the next question is also come from Miss Mega to Miss Marie about how does Miss Marie convince the students that the skill is important to possess, otherwise they will not be able to sharpen their thinking skills. And then the third question from Miss Rina from Sanatarama University to Miss Marie about what can you conclude regarding the most common excuses given by students in committing plagiarism? And what are your personal plans, Miss Marie, to cope with their excuses? So maybe for the first question, from who? Mr. Thomas or Miss Yusefa or Miss Lanuke?
Yeah, Mr. Thomas. Thank you. Okay, I will try to answer first, and then later Mr. Thomas and Bulanuka will probably also try to add. Okay. Thank you, Miss Mega, for the question. So basically, let me check the question again. Okay, so how do we keep the content of the podcast relevant with what the teachers need, right? Okay, so basically our content is kind of thematic, like we start by discussing about the theories of extensive reading first, and then move to best practices done by our friends in IERA. And then we also try to listen to some requests from the audience, like for example, would you try to discuss, like, for example, the implementation of extensive reading in senior high school levels or maybe in junior high school level, kind of that. So this
teachers related to this one. But we give them kind of like choices, kind of like this one. So if it is possible for the teachers to do that in their classes or maybe in their school, well, they can adjust it. They can try to make it, what's that, more doable and visible for them. So we don't really convince them in quote unquote, but we give them kind of choices. Well, the choices might be suitable for them, but at the same time, it might be not really suitable, so they need to adjust. So, well, of course, when they ask us to give them some suggestion related to this one, we can always help them and also help them connect with the what's that, our speakers in our podcast or on our video. Maybe that's it. Uka, do you want to add?
No, Mas Thomas, I think Bu Josefa and you have already answered the question.
Thank you so much, Bu Yusefa and Pak Thomas.
You're welcome, Bu Mega.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And for Miss Mari, for the second and third question, could answer.
Okay. Thank you very much for the questions, Miss Mega and Miss Rina Purnama Nimulan. For Miss Mega's question, how do I convince the students that this skill is important to possess? Actually, this, how is it there? I try to give the students the definition of the plagiarism first, and then I try to look for some. I try to search for some cases and related to this kind of act. So, oh yeah, what I got from the seniors from my school, they also have this kind of concern, like plagiarism is really what is it? It's not how to say that. It's not really. It's really important to give the students the knowledge about the plagiarism, because in the university, if you are found doing something like this and your score will be reduced, or even you will get a zero or something like that. So I the first thing that I approach them to give this kind of concept is I give them the definitions first, and then the cases that are that has been occurred, and then yeah, and it will affect their future if they go to the university with this kind of attitude, like doing plagiarism or things. But I still look for the next step that I should do, especially this, because this is a classroom action research. So maybe if I gain more information about how to convince the students, how to educate them with their original work, I'm sure that this will be more applicable, especially in the class. And then for Miss Rina's question, from the common excuses, I found that they are still lack in the skills of paraphrasing. Honestly, I also still working on this skill to paraphrase because it is not a simple thing for me. Although I'm the teacher, but I'm still learning how to make how to do the paraphrase or how to teach them the paraphrasing itself. And then if it is about their time management, I think it should be done by themselves because here in distance learning, we cannot approach them one by one. And then, yeah, I think it is only by their own if they want to have a good time management. And then for my plans to cope with their excuses, I think the first thing I will do is, yeah, to give them the knowledge about the paraphrasing itself and how to make a citation in referencing to other people's writing. Yeah, it is still in the process of the classroom action research. So I hope we can share each other about this concern. Maybe I will get some suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Marie, for the answers. I think we have more time, around 10 minutes. I will invite more questions, maybe two. Besides writing down in the chat box, you can also ask directly to the presenters by click on the raise hand icon in your screen, and then I will let you to answer to deliver your question directly to the presenters. Is there anyone who wants to ask? Oh, we have another question from Miss Tiara from Sanatarama University to Mr. Thomas, Miss Josefa, and Miss Lanoke about how do we know the extensive reading activity incorporated with the podcast is being done by the students, and what suggestion that you can give for the proper assessment. So for the team, you could answer the question.
Okay.
Lanoka, the red carpet is yours.
Thank you, Josefa. Thank you, Ms. Tiara, for the question. The question is, how do we know that the art activity incorporated with the podcast is being done by the students? Me personally, I do not know. But then there are some of our listeners who keep in touch with us, and they usually share what they have done after they listen, as Josefa has mentioned before. That's how we know that some of the podcasts are really used in the classroom. But we don't really look for how many or who really incorporate that, because what basically we do is to share versus our passion and to spend the time together with me in Saturday night. And then regarding the assessment, proper assessment, it's assessment in extensive reading is usually a difficult question to answer, because as well as we know, when we talk about extensive reading, we will think that it shouldn't be assessed. But then what I remember from Bu Anita, it's a colleague from IERA, and she is the expert of assessment in extensive reading. What I remember is that when we want to assess something, it has to be assessing our goal. So for example, when we use extensive reading and we want to use it to teach student grammar. So what we assess is the grammar, not the extensive reading practice. So extensive reading is used as the approach or as the tool for us to help students understand the grammar better. And if we want to use extensive reading and writing. So what we will assess is the writing and not the extensive reading. But then in general, if we really want to know whether the students really read or not, we can have comprehension questions that is done using something fun, such as literature review. That's where students can talk about what they read and we know that they really read or not. Or you can also take a look at how many words or how many books they have read throughout certain time of a certain period of time. Usually we can assess monthly or maybe in a semester. You can set a goal, how many books or words that students need to read to reach a certain level. I think that's what I know about it. Maybe Mas Thomas or Bu Yusefa want to add something? Okay. Thank you anyway for the question.
Excellent answer, Kak Uke.
Okay, thank you for Miss Lanuka for the answers. I'm still waiting for another question.
There's actually another question from Bu Marni. So what keeps you energized in creating this useful resource for learning? For me, Bu Marni, it's very energizing because I'm no longer lonely. Because I have friends that I can spend my time with talking about something good. That's why it's always nice to have time with Mas Thomas, Bu Yusefa, and also wonderful guests. I think it's because of the guests. They have so many things to share and they are so valuable. And it's good to share the guest stories basically and what they know about extensive reading and literature, what they do at home with their family, with their students. They are so inspiring. So I think that what makes us, motivated to keep doing this, despite the time difference, because Bu Yusefa now is pursuing her doctoral degree in the United States. And me and Mas Thomas are in different time because Mas Thomas in Sanata Dharma and I'm in UMY. Sometimes our times are different too. But they are all okay. Bu Yusefa and Mas Thomas, I think you want to add something.
Okay, thank you for the question, my twin, Miss Marni. So for me, what energizes or what motivates me is the sharing itself. So for me, sharing is learning actually. So by doing the podcast, I also learn more and also giving actually. And another reason for me actually is doing kindness to Bulanoke. As she mentioned before, she is very lonely, usually every Saturday. So yeah, just doing kindness because normally she will text me every Saturday. So then I was thinking that probably we can do something more useful than just gibah or doing something receh. Yeah. What about you, Mas Thomas?
Okay, for me personally, we all know that learning something that is contextual that we need is very important for our life. And like Bu Uke has said previously, we learn from the case actually. And it is very contextual for me, especially for preparing my future. I always mention that and that's real. I mean, we all will become teacher and also become parents, and we can learn from all the guests how to prepare the better family for, especially for our future children, right, Bu Uka?
Yes, Mas, very, very true.
Okay, sorry for our answers.
Okay, thank you for the answers, Miss Lanoke, Miss Josefa, and Mr. Thomas. I think is there any question? We can invite one more question. Is there anyone who want to ask? you can utilize this session to asking your curiosity about extensive reading or about plagiarism, because I see that many participants are still students, so maybe you can ask more information about plagiarism and extensive reading to our presenters for today. Is there anyone who want to ask? Or is it enough for the session? If there is no one who want to ask further, is it okay to end the session for today?
Yes, Sarah.
Okay, so so I think that is the end of participation 3 for today. I will just promote the team podcast, so you can listen to the podcast Saturday with. It is provided in Spotify and YouTube. And also good luck for Miss Mari for continuing the research. I think plagiarism is in the major problems that should be more calculating in the future. Okay, so thank you for coming, for all the presenters and all participants. And the next activity will be parallel session 4 at 11:30 a.m. So you could check the information in the program book and enjoy the rest of the conference. Okay, see you and good luck.